There's Little, 18 brothers and sisters, 5 children of his own. His favorite job, he says, aside from boxing, is selling cars. He sells Jeeps back home in Pennsylvania. He likes the challenge. But he said he could not wait for this fight. Really geared up for Michael Nunn, who has worked very hard, especially Ferdy taking extreme care of his weight condition.
Because that last fight almost cost him. No one was checking a weight because Angelo was home taking care of his wife Helen, who, by the way, we all wish gets successfully through her surgery that happened today. And he learned not to trust anybody. He said, I bought my own scale and I listen to myself only when Angelo's not here. So, good, smart fighter, Michael Nunn, got to take care of himself.
Michael Nunn, the champion, wearing the white trunks, says he will not change a thing. Still touch and go. Down goes Michael Nunn. He may have to change a thing or two.
Well, that was a left hook from nowhere. Little said he could bang, and he was coming out banging, and boy, he caught him. Down went. Is this something to this Showtime thing? Champions are always taking a licking on Showtime. What's going on?
The network of upsets, and here comes Little again, pouring it on against the champion Michael Nunn, looking to end things early.
He's not looking too shaky as Michael, but he's still trying to shake off the effects of that early attack. Now, Little going all out, maybe going too far, but this is the only chance he's going to have. He might as well take it. Seize the bull by the horns right now.
Little told us, don't be fooled by the record. 21-13-2 with 5 knockouts, looking to KO the champion Michael Nunn in the early going. What a surprise that was.
Well, in a year of surprises, it would be a distinctly huge surprise if Little succeeds in putting Nunn away in the early rounds.
Steve Little, known as the perennial opponent for much of his career, taking fights on short notice and fighting in house fighter hometowns. Well, he's got fellow American Michael Nunn here on neutral turf.
Nunn's got everything back together again. He's not wobbly anymore. He's clear-eyed. Had a little smile on his face like saying, boy, how did that ever happen to me? I'm embarrassed, but he's going to have to fight now because Steve Little has got his number for right now.
Little looking for a big upset. Less than a minute remaining in the opening round. Little has fought some of the biggest names in boxing from welterweight to super middleweight. He's been victorious over Pepino Cuevas, David Braxton, Ismael Negron, and Tyrone Frazier. He's lost to Mark Freeland, Terry Norris, and John David Jackson. His first world title shot, 8th round TKO to Jackson in '88.
Another hammering right hand. While you were rattling that off, Little got off a great right hand, and Nunn fell back. Not quite stunned, but you could see it. They had a good effect to him. That's twice in this round that he's gonged him well, and you could have seen the effect. It was evident.
So right off the bat, Ferdy, a 10-8 round for the challenger.
At the very least, he is doing very well.
Steve Little, a cousin of former 2-time world champion and Olympic gold medalist Meldrick Taylor, would work out at Mickey Henley's Boys Club in Philly with his cousin and other cousins who taught him to fight.
Here's the knockdown. Right on the button. Left hook right on the button and a little touch on the way down just to remind him there's more coming. It was a clear shot, no question about it, and the effect was very evident. There it goes. You can see that his whole electrical system shorted out. His whole central nervous system stopped, and down he went. Although he did weather the round pretty well, he lost it magnificently 10-8, and Steve Little is off to a roaring start.
Round 2 scheduled for 12 as Nunn goes down 35 seconds into round 1. Little knows Nunn, sparring with him for 4 weeks prior to Nunn's second fight with Victor Cordoba. And Little says, I'm stronger now than I've ever been in my career. I've had plenty of time to prepare for this fight, and I believe I'll finally have the world title. We'll see.
Well, in that little grass, the referee, John Coyle, tried to break him up and just let them break themselves up. And the only guy that wouldn't go away was Nunn. He kept holding on. He did not break.
Well, we said at the outset, Ferdy, could Michael Nunn be too obsessed with his other objectives, his other goals, and perhaps is looking ahead?
Anything can happen this year, the way things are going on. After all, if Frankie Randall can come from obscurity to upset the pound-for-pound greatest fighter in the world, Julio Cesar Chavez, convincingly, then anything could happen.
And we saw Terry Norris go down at the hands of Simon Brown as well.
And that was less of an upset because Simon Brown is Simon Brown, two-time world champion. Great. But Frankie Randall and now Steve Little, big doings in boxing.
And Little continues to fight with confidence here in round 2, putting Nunn to the canvas in the early going of round 1.
Well, putting a guy down will give you a great deal of confidence, especially when that was your design. Go out there, hit this guy hard, try to drop him in the first round. He did it. And so now he's full of steam and vinegar. Here's another good hand. Right hand, right on the chin of Nunn. Not big, not effective, but point getting. You know, right now he's outpointing him. Right now, Steve Little is outpointing Michael Nunn. And
we certainly know that Nunn's career was derailed back in May of '91 when after 5 defenses of his IBF middleweight title, he made a critical error in his own hometown and lost to James Toney.
Well, that was a one-punch miracle. I mean, that really was. Toney got him a one good punch, and he was so far behind, that's what he needed, a miracle. He got it. But up to then, he's been beating everybody over it. I mean, don't be surprised to see him come back and start boxing very well and then carry us through to a decision like it's his usual way.
Nunn, of course, was ahead on all cards going into that 11th round. But since that setback, Nunn 6-0 with all 6 wins as a super middleweight, beating Randall Yonker, Victor Cordoba twice, Dan Morgan, Crawford Ashley, and Murky Sosa.
Tell you what, I would have liked to have a tape of Angelo Dundee in the corner when he came back that first round after being down. Boy, would he get a wake-up call in the corner.
What were those famous words? You're blowing it, kid. You're blowing it. Less than 30 seconds, round 2.
Angelo's got a lot of famous words, but one thing is you pay attention when you get to the corner.
Yes. You would know, being alongside him for many years in the corner of Muhammad Ali.
And 12 other champions. That guy has had a warehouse full of champions.
Legendary cornerman Angelo Dundee, not with Michael Nunn, trained 12 world champions, including Ali and Leonard. Now that's it for round 2.
All right, I can live with it. It's very muffled.
Nunn in his corner. I'll tell you what, Steve Little might have to give up his career as a car salesman if he keeps up this pace, Ferdy.
Well, I think he would gladly give it up for a role of champion, because you can't sell that many cars in your lifetime to make what these kids make in championship fights these days.
Well, Steve Little is telling Michael Nunn no sale as we enter round 3, scheduled for 12 for the WBA Super Middleweight Championship. Michael Nunn, if you're just joining us, was floored, decked by the challenger Steve Little, who has a record of 21-13-2 with 5 knockouts, 35 seconds into the fight. Nunn lands with a right there, but back comes Little.
Yeah, those are point getting, and that's what he's good at. Nunn is good at getting points like that, but right now he's got Little in front of him, who has got the energy at this point to come back real strong as soon as he starts to punch and outpoint him. And of course, right now he is digging a little hole for himself because of that first round of the 10-8, and he lost the second round. So Nunn better get started here.
Little, meanwhile, Ferdy keeps pounding away to the midsection and the head of Michael Nunn with those short, crisp uppercuts. He used to fight the Nunn stick and move elusive style, but as you pointed out earlier, lately has come off his toes and has been banging, and he doesn't want to leave it up to the judges.
That's what he says. A lot of those fights that I lost was because I stayed up on my toes and waltzed away those last rounds. Well, I got off my toes, started punching, and I've been winning ever since. So that's what he's showing us. A good right hand up to Nunn's side of the head just then. Good hook. See, he's bullying him. He's he's commanding him. He is not giving Nunn the room to move and operate like right now. This is how Nunn wants to be out here, jabbing, moving back as soon as the other guy moves forward. It's beautiful boxing on the part of Nunn. He wasn't giving him that chance. As soon as he started that, in comes Little, punching.
Little said he feels Michael Nunn is taking him, in his words, quote-unquote cheap because of his record, and Nunn is getting fat, says Steve Little.
Now, fat is a word I don't think I would ever use in conjunction with this rail, skinny as a rail, Michael Nunn, but
he may have meant that theoretically as in fat cat.
Yeah, I think so.
Certainly not his midsection. Interestingly, Ferdy, Steve Little has a plastic surgeon, a woman named Rosetta Garrett, in his corner he's very happy with. It's really an intriguing story.
Well,
he got badly cut recently, and she stepped in and stopped the cut instantly. After that, he won't box without her.
I'm amazed more plastic surgeons don't walk with her. Look at Nunn going to work.
Yeah, this is the best Nunn has looked thus far, but back comes Little with a sharp right.
Little has been working all during this round. He has not been still. He keeps on coming. Every moment or two, a brief flurry by Nunn, but he can't keep it up. He can't keep away. Maybe, it's just maybe, that Nunn wants to put a little hurt on him and wants to stop and fight, but he's not doing it. He's not putting any hurt on Steve Little.
And there's a bell for round 3. So here at Earl's Court in London, England, we go into the corner of Michael Nunn.
This rematch indicates, the replay indicates the intensity and the drive of Steve Little once he gets in close. And he's bombing away. Those little bombs not only are cutting down the steam of Nunn, but are building up big points, so that now I've given him all 3 rounds. He just is on top of Nunn, and of course he dropped him in the first round. So Nunn's got to get back on his bicycle and start showing the kind of punching that he normally does. You see, he's got the distance there. That kind of distance that you're seeing in this replay is what we're talking about. If he doesn't get that, and if Steve Little stays close to him, then Little has got a good shot at upsetting him.
All right, Ferdy, round 4 is scheduled for 12 for the WBA super middleweight title. Little has only 5 knockouts in 36 encounters, but promised he'll be more aggressive, and so far he has lived up to that promise. Now just smiling through the black mouthpiece at Michael Nunn, and Little on the chase again. The referee, third man of the ring, John Coyle of England. Three judges, one from Belgium, one from Panama City, and the other from the Bronx, New York. Quite a diversification.
Nunn, that great jab has not been present. This is the first time he's thrown 3 together. He hasn't doubled them up yet. I think the key is going to be if Steve Little starts to wear out. I mean, he's got this big burst of energy from that knockdown. If he starts to let go and relax a little bit, then of course Nunn comes on with a superior boxing. But if he's got the energy to go after him, if he's got that 4-wheel drive that Jeeps have, he will come in and finish him.
Good analogy, since that's what he sells.
That's what he needs, 4-wheel drive. He's got to keep on coming. Nothing can stop him right here.
Well, he is certainly in high gear against the champion, Michael Nunn. You hear the crowd in the background chanting Little. He, of course, the big underdog coming in, and they like to rally behind the underdog. Halfway through the 4th round. It's a lovely place. You hear that echo effect resonating throughout Earl's Court in London. And again, no clear-cut choice in this round, although Steve Little seems to have the slight upper hand. He's the aggressor.
Now that's the boxing that Nunn needs to do. Just slip away, keep bipping and bopping. There's that jab. He's just about back on track, but he's still not.
Good punches inside here. Ferdy by Steve Little, getting through and making contact to the head. And again, Michael Nunn on the retreat.
much better round from Nunn, who is now not being attacked and therefore can unleash his jab, can move around, pop with the right hand when he wants to. That's the kind of thing he was looking for and didn't get for 3 rounds.
You can see confidence building a little bit here for the champion in the white, Michael Nunn. Now there's the bell signaling the end of round 4. And on that note, let's go back to Bruce Beck in our New York studios. Bruce?
All right, thank you very much, Steve. And Bobby Ches, thus far, does Michael Nunn look lethargic to you?
Well, for someone that's obsessed and full of passion to unify this world championship, he does not look like he has the capability right now. He looks lethargic. He looks like he's giving too much respect to a fighter who is not a good puncher. Steve Little, only a few knockouts, a handful of losses, and then some. This is not the Michael Nunn that could unify any world title.
How important is it for Little to continue to pressure Nunn?
Well, he's staying right on top of him. He's living in his chest, as we say. He's right there on top of him, not giving Nunn any room to exercise that good right jab, use his legs, and step around. And right now, he's winning the fight. At this pace, he can win it.
All right now, let's go back to Steve Albert and Ferdy Pacheco ringside.
Thank you, Bruce and Bobby, as we are getting set for round 5.
And I'm agreeing with Bobby. This is not the guy that I was picking to win all of the things. This Michael Nunn that we saw start here is not the guy that's going to unify the title. But it's a long fight. As Bobby knows, listen, what happens at the beginning doesn't count. It's what happens at the end.
And the pace really quickens here to open round 5. Steve Little, who put Michael Nunn on the floor 35 seconds into the first round.
Nunn now able to establish the distance between them so that Little is not coming in with the force that he did before and unsure. He's not coming in like a rocket like he did last time, coming in punching. He's sort of tentative when he comes in and he misses. See, like that. He just, Nunn's got his legs back, and when Nunn's got his legs back, he's a gazelle. It's hard to catch him coming in with a jab.
And Nunn, the southpaw, of course, not the biggest puncher, but very accurate. At his best, elusive, slick, mobile, crafty, extremely fast, able to dart in and out with timely blows.
He's got a right jab that if he repeats, I mean, and he is capable of repeating it 2, 3, and 4 times, will dizzy. See, look, that was perfect Nunn right there. That's Nunn. That's the guy you can't catch. Little got to pass those first 3 rounds because he knocked him down and caught him by surprise. It's taken this long to get his legs under him. Nunn now seems to be a little bit more controlled. Doesn't seem to be as confused about everything, and he seems to be back together again.
Not a crisp counter puncher. His big weapon is the left uppercut. In the past, criticized for his defensive, not aggressive running style, but the more aggressive of late perhaps got tired of the booing. Up until the loss for the IBF middleweight title to James Toney, he was an unusual case in that he won fights but lost ground. And here's Steve Little again on the attack, but not getting much accomplished.
He had to run all the way across the ring just to catch him on the ropes. You know, the crowd hates that kind of fighting, but it gets you wins. I mean, he is not there to get battered, I'll tell you. Nunn doesn't believe in taking a big beating. If he can help it, he'll run.
Less than a minute, round of 5. Hard punches to the body, burying them to the midsection is Little.
But Little has it's hard to say, very little punching power right now. It's not the zipping punches that he had in the first 3 rounds when he was trying so hard. He might have burned out those first 3 rounds.
And as Bobby Ches pointed out back at our New York studios, he only has 5 knockouts in the 36 fights. So not known as a knockout puncher, although he did land one to put Nunn down to the first round.
Oh,
back comes Nunn. Swift left, then the combination. And Nunn really gaining the confidence now.
And scoring the points because those are clean shots, landed cleanly, not with a great deal of force, but just perfectly landed.
As we head for the bell.
Jab, and then the left hand following it. It's what he's known for, and it's certainly his signature in boxing, that long right jab. That's tough enough to fight left-handers without having to eat all those jabs on the way in. Boy, I pity Steve Little for the rest of this fight.
It is round 6. They don't allow microphones in the corners here in Great Britain, so that's something we wish we could bring to you.
So that's why they were so quiet in the corner. I was listening so hard for 3 rounds, I didn't hear anything.
Michael Nunn, looking certainly like the old Michael Nunn here as we enter round 6.
And Steve Little trying to look like the old Steve Little in the first 3 rounds. They must have told him something in the corner because he's come out pretty hard now.
What do you think after 5, even?
No, I have a Michael Nunn behind 48-46. He blew the first 3 rounds on my scorecard, and one of them was a 10-8 round. But the last 2 have been for Michael Nunn, which gives us 48-46. But if you're talking about the ebb and flow, it definitely the tide is coming in for Nunn. He's riding the waves right now.
It is awfully close as Michael Nunn begins to pick up some steam, but that combination missed.
I tell you, he can't afford to be dropped anymore, and he can't afford to drop too many more rounds. He's got to make sure that he gets even before he starts whiling away around, as he is wont to do from time to time. He doesn't mind just losing around when he doesn't feel like fighting.
Steve Little, although you may not have heard of him up until tonight, has had world championship experience, and he's been in there with some big names, so he's obviously not intimidated by the environment.
He had a very good attitude coming in here. A guy that's fought in good competition, not scared of none, and knowing that this is his opportunity. Not afraid to go out in the world and work. He says, I've got 5 kids. I don't mind working a lot. I love the challenges of selling cars just as much as the challenge of boxing, but boxing pays a lot more.
And Steve's family, anything but little, 18 brothers and sisters.
Oh, look at that.
Look out.
They were playing a little bit. Nunn just smiles. He got tapped on the face about 14 times by Little, but not hard, just sort of taps.
Nunn getting a little facial there from the challenger. Here's that shotgun jab.
Pop, pop. Kind of an alley jab where he flicks it out. What Boudini used to call a snake flicker.
Looking to set up either the straight left or his bread and butter punch, the left uppercut. Round 6 moves on. Less than a minute.
They should call Nunn. Do not get close to me, Nunn. That should be his name. Stay away, far away from me, and I will eat you up with a jab.
How many nicknames are you allowed? Well, there's second to none.
Second to none is about as bad as you can get.
Steve Little comes trotting in.
You're going to have to stop this for the tape on Nunn's glove.
Yeah, the right glove is coming unglued.
Because with that flicking jab, that's even more dangerous. You're really flicking that tab of tape out. That could get in the corner of the eye, and it really hurts.
They'll take care of that business here.
Well, another one in the kip for Mr. Nunn. Brings his fight even, close to even, 1 point away.
Michael Nunn comes in at 42-1 with 27 KOs.
And here we watch that jab in action. He has been landing with incredible percentage of accuracy with the right jab, and every once in a while he crosses the left effectively. It doesn't hurt though, but it's effective, meaning it builds up points. Back in Steve Little's corner, they're doing their version of silent movies. Remember the silent movies? No, nobody does.
Al Fennell and Dr. Rosetta Garrett is the cut person. We are now past the halfway point of this championship affair, scheduled for 12. It is now round number 7. And Michael Nunn gaining ground after that very difficult start. He was floored 35 seconds into the first round by the challenger, Steve Little.
Again, that snake flicking punch, but twice Little has come close to landing hard shots in that first exchange. The same kind that dropped him. Twice he sprang it over the jab. He's looking at time and clocked that jab. Hard to do on this guy.
And Little looking for that same magic. There's a good right hand by Little that put Nunn down in the first round. There's that flicking jab by Nunn. It's bothersome, isn't it?
Oh, discombobulation gets you off of any timing you might have, especially when you can follow the right jab with that left hand that he does. That crosses that left hand. Well, that's a devastating little reminder that there's more coming than just the jab.
Well, it looked like it started out as a nice counterattack by Little, but Nunn totally unfazed.
He's taken it well. Didn't bother him at all, although several of those punches landed very well that Little threw.
So now Little looking to score some points.
I think Michael Nunn was very cold there at the beginning. He certainly didn't expect that. And we have seen him go down and have seen him come back up and fighting. So once again, it's not how you go down, it's what happens after you come back up.
Sometimes hard to get warmed up. It is rather cold in here, although a very mild overcast day here in London.
This is a gigantic place, by the way. It looks like there's clouds forming up. You think there'll be rain in here?
It looks like an airplane hangar. Well, we've come to the right place for rain, London. Round 7 marches on. Michael Nunn, his 5th title defense. Less than a minute remaining in the 7th. Crisp punching there on the inside by the challenger Little.
But he needs much more of that. He needs to continue that, and he's doing it right now.
He's hammering away with the right hand, looking to mow down, chop down Nunn.
Yep, and he needs to continue that. And just when you think he's on the verge of maybe taking another round, here comes Nunn again with 3, 4, 5 punches right on the butt. You can't ignore him when you're giving points. Little's having his best round since the 3rd here, but so is Nunn.
So this is turning out to be a very interesting fight. We may have a most intriguing home stretch.
And a most intriguing decision. Remember, we're in England, where the judges here love good boxing. I mean, they delight in good defense.
And that is it for round 7. Let's go back to our New York studios and Bruce Beck.
All right, Steve and Bobby Ches, it looked like Little employed some interesting strategy in the 6th round.
Well, you know what he did? He came out as a southpaw. Now, he might have been starting to get a little frustrated because Michael Nunn started to do what he wanted to do, and that is put some distance between them, use that effective long reach and rangy right jab, and he started to take some rounds. So Little came out as a southpaw, didn't last very long, and started to be the aggressor again, trying to close the gap. Here again in the 7th round, trying to keep the gap closed. As long as Nunn's on the outside, he's going to win running away.
All right, a very close 7th round. Let's go back to Steve Albert and Ferdy Pacheco ringside.
Thank you once again, Bruce Beck, here at Earl's Court in London, England, as they work on the challenger Steve Little.
And I think they've pretty well evened up the fight now. It's a more or less even fight from here on out. It is Mike Nunn's fight to take over Steve Little to get very energetic and cop one of the biggest upsets since last week.
It is round number 8. It seems like every week there's an upset on Showtime.
You keep forgetting he's the biggest upset since what? They keep piling up here. Uh-oh. Nunn slipped, and Steve Little, seeing like an opportunity to come in there, ran in, but Nunn too sharp.
Very difficult to find windows of opportunity against an elusive fighter like Michael Nunn, although it was found seconds into the 1st round. Nunn came out to look very cold and has since warmed up. There's that elusive nature we talked about. There's the crowd coming alive as well. Trying to urge on the challenger.
There he is. He's trying. He's flying after Michael Nunn, and Michael is just too swift for him. And not that Steve Little is not doing as well as can be expected, because he's trying as hard as he can. There's no bad notes to be given. He's trying hard. He just can't get close enough to make his punches felt.
Little has not fought since December 4th, 1992, a unanimous decision over a fighter named Anthony Williams in Atlantic City. Little, born and raised in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, lives in Reading, PA right now.
Well, I sure would have liked to have been in the room with Angelo Dundee watching on the screen when he saw Nunn go down. I bet he started giving instructions right to the screen.
Either that or he went down, too.
No, no. Get up and shoot first. Don't let him bull you.
I think I heard him. Steve Little, almost a low blow there by Michael Nunn.
I think that's the first one in the whole fight. The first low blow I've seen this whole fight.
I think John Quill just said something. Back comes Little. Little continues to try and bull his way in and bang his way.
Now you see, Little, if he continues the aggressiveness, has to be given points for aggressiveness. I mean, he's not out of this fight. He's trying to make the fight. The other guy's just too good a defensive fighter. He turns lefty, he turns righty, he goes both ways. It doesn't make any difference. Nunn's used to seeing both things. I never understood why fighters switch back and forth. I've never seen somebody knock somebody out because he switched back. I mean, I think go with what you know the best.
Southpaw against southpaw in this sequence, as for some reason Steve Little thought that might help out his strategy. He is landing a little bit there, but again, Nunn unflappable. And so that is the conclusion of round 8 here at Earl's Court in London, England. One of the biggest boxing venues in Europe. It seats about 10,000. It's almost like an airplane hangar.
Worried faces on the cornermen of Michael Nunn, although I don't know what they're worried about because he's doing pretty well. This replay that we're looking at, you can see the distance between the two. And you can see Steve trying to decide, am I going to throw a left jab or right jab? He throws something that looks like a right jab, but although it's the ugliest one I ever saw. And then Nunn slips on some water, and of course, Steve says, well, let me take advantage of that. As long as he's slipping and sliding, let me try to bop him, but it didn't work.
Wes Ramey in the corner of Michael Nunn, and of course Al Fentel in the corner of Steve Little as we enter into round number 9 for the WBA Super Middleweight Championship scheduled for 12. Steve Albert, the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco ringside. We'll be sending it back later to Bruce Beck and two-time world champion Bobby Ches in our New York studios. But meanwhile, the fight goes on.
Wonderful right hand to the body by Steve Little, and a left hook to the body right now. Maybe his corner said, why don't you try to work the body, which they should have been doing from the very beginning, and try to slow this guy down a little bit.
Meanwhile, in hot pursuit once again is the challenger in the black trunks, Steve Little.
And although this is very unofficial, I think that this still is a fight up in the air. Either man could take this with a determined charge here. It is not a safe thing in the bank for Nunn. He's got to continue to work. He's got to continue that jab going, and whether he's left-handed or right-handed, Steve Little has got to come in with both hands pumping.
Well, Nunn had to go the decision in Puebla, Mexico, December the 18th, to beat Murky Sosa, another unheralded fighter, just like this guy right here, Steve Little.
Well, that was a little bit different in that he had to lose 7 pounds the day of the fight, and he was extremely weak. He was lucky to get out of there with a win.
That's why we brought up the weight condition early on here tonight. Nunn has worked feverishly, especially taking extreme care of checking the weight himself on the scale, a reference to that last fight in Mexico.
That's the only way you can do it when you don't have anybody making you get on the way you get on and take a look, because managers that just tell you, you look good today, drives me full of fear. I want to see the guy weigh. I want to see it. I want to see that needle there.
And that's where the absence of a guy like Angelo Dundee comes into play.
Big deal. Yeah, big. Angelo, to be a good manager, you have to study guys. They do a lot of things. It's not just show up for the fight. They check judges, they check referees, they check rules, they check the ring, they check the ropes. Believe me, when you hang around with Angelo, your fighter is going to get every advantage he can possibly get, plus a positive, friendly press. By the time Angelo's through in town, everybody loves your fighter. So, I mean, he really does. Oh, what a beautiful little shot. Nunn just landed on Steve Little, but it just made Steve fight harder.
Nunn trying to take the lead here against Steve Little. Michael Nunn, who certainly misses the guiding light, the overall knowledge of a guy like Dundee. But back comes Little with a nice combination to the head. Less than 30 seconds in the 9th round. very quiet now.
Neither man really taking command. I'd say Nunn has the advantage, but he's not taking command. He's not beating up Steve Little. He's just avoiding a beating by Steve Little. That's the characterization of this fight. Nunn's wonderful at avoiding a fight.
So round 9 is in the books. We're going to double figures.
This replay shows the kind of activity. See that's the beautiful little shot that we were referring to a moment ago on Michael Nunn. Let's see if we can pick that up again. Just watch how fast his hands are. Two little jabs. He's just watching like a guy. Where's my opening? Whoop, there it is. You see, I mean, that's what you call fast hands. He's moving backwards. He landed 3 jabs, and he still can throw an uppercut going backwards. That's a lot of technique and reflex for that.
I'm very impressed you're into the MTV generation. Whoop, there it is. That was good.
Is that what they did?
The Fight Doctor is on top of things. We are set for round 10. John Coyle brings them together. And pressing the attack, as per usual, is Steve Little.
And if I were in his corner, I'd say you got 3 rounds, and if you take them all, you can win the championship. I don't know if that's true, but I would tell him that. A little lie doesn't hurt every once in a while to give him encouragement. And Lord knows it may be true. You can't tell with the decisions we've seen over the past 6 or 7 months where we stand here. I have Nunn ahead, but barely.
Some heavy punches here by Steve Little. Oh, what a right hand by Little. Another one. Bashing rights by Little. Riveting shots.
He should be throwing both hands, and he should stick there. That's pay dirt. As long as Nunn lets him punch, he better get him off, because he's not going to have that opportunity too many times during a round. Very, very seldom do you see Nunn stop and let you punch at him.
Michael Nunn with a little glance over the ropes toward us, and he better keep his eye on the man in front of him.
Yeah, I think he's a big fan of yours, you know, because of basketball. He's followed the Warriors so many years that he's enamored of your voice.
I'm speechless for one.
Oh,
nice combination.
Is that nice? That's like, I'm going to show Mr. Albert what a punch looks like. Bop-bop.
That's the 1-2 by Michael Nunn.
And Steve Little's showing a little weariness just then. I mean, he's not happy to let go and start punching. He's happy to stay there.
Well, he's had plenty of time to get ready for this fight. Inactive in '93, and he continues to pour it on against the champion. Now they get into a dance in the center of the ring. Less than a minute to go in the 10th round.
John Coyle, a referee, not in a hurry to break them. They're both too tall to be leaning over the ropes like that. You end up falling into... By the way, this ring apron is excellent. It has about 1.5 feet, which means you can fall out, still not fall into the lap of newspaper guys and protect yourself.
Or the legendary Reg Gutteridge on the British broadcast side.
Yeah, who's doing his usual capable job interpreting for Jim Watts.
You're tough. Less than 30 seconds in the 10th round.
There's a yell up, but nobody to this point. I don't know what they're yelling for except fight. I don't hear them one name or the other.
But they love to chant in England.
Yeah.
It's a pastime.
Again, the beautiful footwork of Michael Nunn. He's a dancer.
And that is it for round number 10 here at Earl's Court in London, England. Steve Albert back with the Fight Doctor, Ferdy Pacheco. So how do you see it on your unofficial scorecard?
Very, very close for Nunn. I believe Nunn is just outboxing him. It's sort of bordering on a dreary fight now after flaming beginning. That's nothing new with Nunn. Nunn, once he gets up on top, can bip and bop and box the rest of the time. Cool and calm. He doesn't care whether the crowd gets mad or not. And as far as Little, he's trying as hard as he can. His heart is in this fight. He just can't get him to stop fighting to really blast him. So I think that what had the potential to be a very interesting fight, if not an upset, has turned into sort of a road game.
So now we go into the championship rounds, and what do you think the approach will be here?
I think everything all-out attack by Little, because he has nothing to lose and nowhere to go back to except selling cars.
And we are set for round 11 for the WBA Super Middleweight Championship, and boy, they both met in the center of the ring and both landed.
You know, it's been a very clean fight. Let's say there's been no low blows, where you're so used to everybody getting low blows and penalized for it. There have been no unnecessary clinches. There have been no butts. There have been no elbowing. You know, it's been a fairly clean fight.
There has been one knockdown, and that came about 35 seconds into the fight when the challenger in the black trunk, Steve Little, decked the champion, Michael Nunn, in the white.
And let us hasten to add, it was a legitimate knockdown. Nunn was stunned. He didn't get up in good shape, and Little lost the chance of his life by not being able to put him away. Although he did attack with everything he had, Nunn was able to weather it. Of course, he's a great champion, I believe, and it's very difficult to repeat that on Michael Nunn.
And then again later, as Steve Little airs it out a little bit, Little had some opportunities, but he couldn't put punches in bunches.
Yeah, it's hard when a man is moving with that. See, he's just letting him have the midsection. It doesn't bother him. Nunn is a very well-conditioned athlete here. As you can see, his body is very fine, and very seldom do you see any fat on that body when he goes to fight. In fact, you usually have problem with weight, so what you really see is a very skinny guy. Very tall. And very fast of foot and fast of hand.
Nunn with a 4-inch height advantage. 6'2", 167, Little 5'10", 168. Little's 28, Nunn 30. Nunn out of Davenport, Iowa, lives in Agora Hills, California. Little from Pennsylvania.
Little giving his little jab clinic here, apparently content to do this all the way through round 11 and 12. It doesn't look like he has neither urgency nor worry to him. He looks like he's just cruising. He's happy to be here, and doesn't look like he's going for a knockout or feel the fight's in any jeopardy. So he's fighting like Nunn always fights, confident and doing what he has to do to win.
It's so difficult to chase down the elusive Nunn.
Look at that. I mean, he came one way, threw a punch, he went the other. He spins, he dances, he jabs.
Yeah, this is vintage Michael Nunn we're seeing right here.
And I can't say better fighters, but more aggressive fighters like Tony and Ben, the Dark Destroyer. They get so frustrated with this guy because they got the punch to put him out, but they can't get there to do it, and that drives you crazy. That's why I think he could win the whole shebang. Of course, we saw him get put down, and if he got hit real hard by Tony, he'd be out again. Or Bent, as far as that goes, because Bent can punch very hard.
Nigel Benn tells us that's who he wants, Michael Nunn.
I'd like to see him fight Tony. Ben and Tony would be a wonderfully strong fight.
But first, of course, Ben has to get by the #1 contender later tonight in Henry Wharton, who hopes to be crowned King Henry.
Yeah, they keep saying upset, upset. Well, we'll soon see. That's a match of maximum interest.
That's coming up later tonight. But now we're between rounds 11 and 12 of this WBA Super Middleweight contest. Looking down from above here at Earl's Court in London, England. The All-British Championship is coming up next. This is an All-American title fight. What do you think, Bertie, as we look at a split screen with Nunn on the left and Little on the right? Does Little need a knockout here in round 12?
I think you're looking at a split screen of confidence and anxiety. Confidence on the left, as Michael Nunn knows he's got this fight won, or thinks he does. Anxiety on the right, as Little thinks, well, I came close. I may be able to win if I can get there.
10 seconds, second round, 12, and last round.
And here it is, round 12, as they touch gloves, and a little fake out by Steve Little, and he made Nunn flinch for a moment. In New York, that would get a noogie. But we're in England.
Now, I would not be surprised to see the judges have this very close.
Well, good slapping left hand there by the challenger, Little.
I think Michael better rethink it. He better rethink it if he thinks he can give away the the round.
Nunn just
Stepped on.
admonishing a camera person over there. He stepped on either a wire or an actual lens.
Oh, that's dangerous. That's really dangerous. You can break a camera that way.
I don't think Mr. Nunn had that in mind. So round 12 moves on now, and let's see what happens. It's awfully close. Combination to the head by Steve Little.
As we said, we are in England. It's either awfully close or wide open for Nunn, because you don't know if these guys are just not giving Little any credit for the aggression he's showing and the hard punches he lands, but without effect. On the other hand, Michael is fighting just in the same gear that he always does. Bip, bop, move, 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 right hand, left hand. He's just not in a hurry, and he's certainly not worried about it. But frankly, I would say I'd be shocked if he lost the championship on this fight.
And of course, oftentimes you have to win overwhelmingly against the champion.
Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make. I would, on a lackluster fight like this, I don't think you can lose or should lose the championship.
We have seen some strange, bizarre decisions, and now it seems to be a futile chase here by the challenger.
Yeah.
But I would be most surprised if Nunn wouldn't get this decision based on the fact that he's the head man.
I would too. I really would be surprised. And the fact that they love this kind of boxing in England so much. I mean, you know, there is a whole faction of boxing judges and people who love boxers. I mean, they just think that's the ultimate in boxing. And of course it is. It is a big factor. If you're a ring general and you can box like this, if you're a Willie Pep or one of these kind of guys, Willie Pastrano and Louis Rodriguez, that drive you crazy with boxing, hey, that's part of the game.
Well, this is where it all began, right? The Marquis of Queensberry.
That's right. When he beat his wife 3 times out of 10. I'm at the Lily Langtree pub. I was there.
Less than 30 seconds to go in the 12th and final round. I'll just let that one slide by for you. Michael Nunn, who appears, from our vantage point, to be in the driver's seat after a very tough start. That is it. Both raise their hands in triumph. You hear the reaction from the crowd, not pleased. And, boy, I've never seen such a rush of photographers up there. I mean, in the United States, they're all old and fat. These are all young guys that just jumped up there like a band of locusts. So the fans obviously wanted more here tonight between Nunn and Little. I got to give the challenger Little a lot of credit, though. And I got to give plastic surgeon Rochelle a lot of credit. He didn't get cut. She bet, and she is. And I know thousands of plastic surgeons. The best-looking plastic surgeon I've seen. Nice-looking lady. Well, now Michael Nunn chatting with the crowd. So we're awaiting the decision to see who is the WBA super middleweight champion. Will it continue to be Michael Nunn, and this is 5th title defense? Or in an upset, would it be the challenger Steve Little? We have no doubt in our minds that the champion remains. Many of the fans here holding their hands over their noses at this fight. It's amazing how many commentators, English commentators and writers, looked over at us and just put their hands on their nose saying, wow, what a smeller that one was. Well, the crowd is very gentle and kind to him, because normally in the United States, if there had been that lack of action, you'd have gotten more than booze. You'd have gotten all kinds of things thrown at you. In the ring, here it's just a very gentlemanly crowd for now. Yes. Although I have been hit with some Yorkshire pudding from time to time. Usually from your broadcast partners. Marv used to throw, but he has a weak right hand throwing. Well, let's be thankful we're in the company of genteel fans. Yes. Wonderful England.
Genteel crowd. It's now filling up. This place is gigantic, but it looks like it's filling up with people.
The Cavernous Earl's Court here in London, England. They're tallying up the score sheets. We're keeping a close watch on ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr., the blonde bombshell who's getting ready to make the announcement in the center of the ring. He's looking it over very closely. Got the microphone in his hand. Michael Nunn comes together with Steve Little and Little's corner people. And you just never know what's going to happen. The crowd growing very anxious. Will Michael Nunn retain his title, or will he be dethroned?
Well, this is showtime. We never know, do we? I mean, every time we come up to this, we're always looking at each other shrugging. Well, what? I don't know. I don't know.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of championship boxing, we have a split decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Luis Rivera scores the match 115-112 in favor of Steve Little. Judge at ringside, Dr. Orlando Sam Suarez scores the match 115-113 in favor of Michael Nunn. Judge at ringside, Felipe Verbeca scores the match 116-114 in favor of the winner and new champion, Steve Lightning Little.
It has happened again. Showtime, the network of upsets.
I think I better stick with this fighting for a while longer. I can't wait to see when this upset rash is going to stop. It's Shazam. The roof over. And by exactly the score that I had it for Nunn, Little wins. And of course, you got to say, we're saying it was even all the way to the end. I had it Nunn, but it is Little that walks away here with the championship.
The new WBA super middleweight champion is Steve Little. Michael Nunn falls to 42-2. He has been dethroned. So from London, we go back to our New York studios. Back with the main event in just a moment. Nigel Benn versus Henry Wharton. Back to Bruce Beck.
Thank you very much, Steve Albert. Steve Little, the new champion in the WBA super middleweight ranks. And Bobby, your reaction, first of all, to the decision.
Well, certainly our vantage point is not as good as ringside where Ferdy and Steve are, but I had the fight 115-114 for Little. I thought he won the early rounds, which we know the knockdown in the 2 rounds right after that. But I thought in the middle rounds, as he started to give him away, he came back and applied enough pressure. As you look at the screen, we'll have it on there in a minute, you're going to see the knockdown. This is where it starts. You know, this is where the whole thing starts.
This is the first round, Bobby, 35 seconds into the fight.
It sets the tone for the first few rounds, and what happens is Steve Little builds momentum. After the first 3 rounds, which I gave him all 3, he's got a 4-point lead, and then Michael Nunn, to his credit, comes back. And you see round 10, you know what happened here.
Bobby, in round 10, it was a flurry by Little that put tremendous pressure on Nunn.
Again, it was the pressure. He would come at him with somewhat of a reckless abandon type attack. Nunn just couldn't keep him off and keep the distance, and I thought he applied too much pressure, Little that is, that Nunn just couldn't deal with it. I thought it was a reasonably fair decision. It was a close fight, though, real close.
Little charged Nunn often. That took away Nunn's ability to box. Was that a key?
Yeah, and he wasn't able to counter, too, because Nunn just wasn't, he just didn't have his legs under him. He's not strong enough. He's a good boxer and mover from the outside, but Little closed that gap, and when he closed that gap, Michael Nunn couldn't get the punches off.
Well, we'll have a word a little bit later with the newly crowned WBA champion Steve Little during our next championship fight. So,